Hi Year 8, it's Mrs. Reed and welcome to the final lesson this week looking at the point of poetry. Today's lesson is a little bit different, so you do need to listen carefully to what it is that you're being asked to do. Okay, so far through this unit, you have been guided through exploring 8 separate poems with lessons from me, Mrs. Reed, and from Mr. Pease. And we have explored a range of different poems that deal with a whole range of different topics, people from different cultures, understanding global events, trying to understand the human experience and people's emotions. So today I want you to have a go at reading and exploring a poem independently. So you're going to be reading a poem and then answering some questions to show your understanding. You're going to be asked to do a thinking harder task, where you think about the ideas that are presented through the writer's language choices in the poem. And then finally, you're going to be writing an analytical paragraph to explore some of the ideas in the poem. So today's poem is called A Case of Murder. It's a poem by Vernon Scannell, and you're going to need to read through the poem at least twice before you answer the questions. There will be a copy of the poem as a PDF on Show My Homework, so you'll need to go back to the poem in order to get your answers. I'm going to read through it once for you, so if you want to, you could listen to me read it through twice. A Case of Murder. They should not have left him there alone, that is, except for the cat. He was only 9, not old enough to be left alone in a basement flat. Alone, that is, except for the cat. A dog would have been a different thing, a big, gruff dog with slashing jaws, but a cat with round eyes mad as gold, plump as a cushion with tucked-in paws. Better have left him with a fair-sized rat. But what they did was leave him with a cat. He hated that cat. He watched it sit, a buzzing machine of soft black stuff. He sat and watched, and he hated it. Snug in its fur, hot, blood in a muff. With its mad gold stare, the way it sat, crooning dark warmth, he loathed all that. So he took Daddy's stick and he hit the cat. Then, quick as a sudden crack in glass, it hissed, black flash, to a hiding place in the dust and dark beneath the couch. And he followed the grin on his new-made face, a wide-eyed, frightened snarl of a grin, and he took the stick and he thrust it in, hard and quick, in the furry dark. The black fur squealed, and he felt his skin prickle with sparks of dry delight. Then the cat came into sight, shot for the door that wasn't quite shut, but the boy, quick too, slammed fast the door. The cat, half through, was cracked like a nut, and the soft black thud was dumped on the floor. Then the boy was suddenly terrified, and he bit his knuckles and cried, but he had to do something with the dead thing there. His eyes squeezed beads of salty prayer, but the wound of fear gaped wide and raw. He dared not touch the thing with his hands, so he fetched a spade and shovelled it and dumped the load of heavy fur in the spidery cupboard under the stair where it's been for years, and though it died, it's grown in that cupboard, and its hot low purr grows slowly louder year by year. There'll not be a corner for the boy to hide when the cupboard swirls and all sides split and the huge black cat pads out of it. Okay, so we can see a poem this time with a particularly dark theme. So what do I want you to do with the poem? Okay, in order to show your understanding of the narrative of the poem, I want you to find a quotation for each of the 12 statements. The first 2 have been done for you. So number 1 says that a boy was left home alone with a cat. So you need to look at the poem and find the quotation. In this case, it's the quotation, "alone that is, except for the cat." In number 2, the boy was 9 and too young to be left alone at home. So that's the statement. You need to go to the poem and find a quotation that supports that idea. In this case, the exact words from the poem were, "He was only 9, not old enough to be left alone." So you will need to use the PDF on Show My Homework or pause the video here and go through and complete each statement. Now you don't have to write the statement out again, you can just put a number 1 in the margin and write the right quotation. Number 2, write the quotation, and so on until you've completed them all. Some of them might be very obvious, okay, so they may be explicitly telling you what happened, and others might be slightly more complex because they're asking you to make an inference, okay, and show understanding of the language. So here's the rest of the statements there for you. And as I say, there's a copy of them also on Show My Homework. So you want to pause the video and go through and gather your quotations first. Okay, now you have done that task, I want us to think a little bit harder about the way in which the cat is described and presented in the poem. There are actually 2 ways that the cat is described. It's presented to us, first of all, as some kind of a villain, so in more negative or threatening terms. So I want you to find a quotation which proves that the cat is described as a villain. So look carefully at the language choices. What quotation do you think would best prove this idea? Statement 2 then says that the cat is also described as a victim of the boy's attack. So this is like the cat being framed almost in the opposite way, that we're supposed to feel sorry for the cat and see it as vulnerable in some way, as a victim. So you need to now find a quotation which proves that the cat is being described as a victim. You want to look out what's the really emotive kind of language that might make us feel sympathy for this animal. Pause the video and complete that task. Okay, so you will only want to go on to this part once you've done parts 1 and 2, so show your understanding of the poem, the thinking harder task, and now we're on to writing an analytical paragraph. So you have a question to answer, and you have a basic guide here. Now, you don't have to follow that guide to the letter. You can change the phrasing, you can change the wording, but it's there to support and help you if you need it. The question to answer is this: how does Scannell change the way we view the cat throughout the poem? Now you must submit at least 1 paragraph. However, if you've got time, it would be better if you can submit 2 so that you can show how the poet, how Scannell changes our perception of the cat throughout the poem. So I've given you some guidance. So we're starting in the first paragraph saying, at first, so early on in the poem, how does Scannell present the cat? The cat is presented as what? Which lines prove that? And then can you clearly explain the impression, zooming in on a word, and what you think this makes the reader understand? After that, you go on to say, how then does Scannell change the way we view the cat later in the poem? So, however, later in the poem, Scannell presents the cat as what? Again, choosing your quotation and what impression that creates and zooming in on keywords. You should be using here the skills that you've worked on throughout the whole of this unit to help you. Make sure you go back to the poem and check. Make sure you use your answers from your thinking hard task, that should help you out too. And when you've completed these tasks, send a copy of them over to your teacher. You will also find a quiz testing you on your knowledge of poetry on Show My Homework. So that's a short multiple choice quiz. So can you make sure you complete that one alongside this lesson? Thanks guys, and well done for all of your hard work. As I've said, I'm really impressed with the high quality of the work that's coming into us, so keep it up. Bye!